Morning, Belal. How are you?
Good, how are you, my brother?
I'm good, man. How's it? Back to being main event, Muhammad. Feel good, or are you used to it at this point? How does that feel?
It feels good. I feel like this is more I feel like this is my first main event. You know, the last one was a rushed one. It was a short notice fight. Everything was chaotic. I didn't have my right-hand man, Lewis Taylor, with me. Now he's COVID-free, guys. He's good. You guys don't have to wear a mask.
Congratulations. How are you feeling for this fight? Obviously, it's a rematch. Vicente's had a few good performances recently. When you look at this fight, how do you feel about it, and does it even relate to the first one, or is that so long ago it's irrelevant?
Yeah, honestly, it's a whole different fight. It's been years since that fight. I've had 12 fights since then, so it's like I'm fighting a new opponent, and he's fighting a new opponent. So that's the way I look at it. There's really not much I could take from that first fight, but motivation, and it pushed me, and knowing the feeling that it gave me that fight, what that loss meant, I'm never going to feel that again.
That's exciting. That's interesting, right? Because you can imagine that some people would almost be a bit like, "Oh, this guy again." But you've taken motivation from it. You think that won't happen to me again, and that's given you a bit of a fire into this one.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when I go back, and I had the same thoughts. You know, you look at it, and to lose a fight like that, and you know, more so the people around you. You see who's really with you, who's not with you. You look at family and friends that don't know what to say to you and things like that, and they're the ones that are talking under their breath and laughing at you and saying that, oh, he doesn't belong up there. He's not good enough to be with these guys. I told you he wasn't good enough. All those people, it just fueled me. It fueled me to get where I am now and to see that I'm number 5 in the world. And now this fight means a lot more. That last fight was a prelim fight. Didn't mean much. It was early in our careers. Now this fight is title contendership. This fight is, we're both at the top of the division and the hardest division in the UFC.
It's funny, right? Because you're a nice guy, he's a nice guy. Is it almost nice to see the fact that, both of us have come a long way? Here we are main eventing now. Is it kind of cool to have that camaraderie with the guy?
Nah, fudge him, dude. Nah, I'm it's cool. You know, like you always watch your past opponents, and you always, whether you beat them or lose to them, you want them to continue winning because you want to be like, I'm not fighting any bums, I'm not fighting a scrub. So to see a guy like him, like you said, he's a nice guy. Even when I was fighting Wonder Boy my last fight, like I saw him in Vegas, and he's like, hey, I'll give you some sparring tips for him, and it was stuff like that. So like I said, it was cool. There was a respect there, and it's like you don't have to fake animosity or anything like that or hate when it's not really there. We both professionals. We both know what the goal is, and we both want the gold.
The division is in an interesting place, right? Because for a while there, it's sort of a bit stagnant. Some guys didn't want to fight other guys, but now it seems like it's really come to life. This is a great fight that's got title implications. Obviously, last week we had Khamzat versus Gilbert. Curious about your thoughts on that fight.
Yeah, honestly, like now I feel like when you look at this division, we're the ones that are really pushing it. We're the ones that are not afraid to fight. This is going to be my third top 5 ranked guy that I'm accepting in a fight. This is going to be my 4th top 10 guy. There ain't nobody else in the division or in the UFC that's fighting 4 top 10 guys in a year. And it's exciting because I want to fight the best guys. And like last week when you see that fight, it's motivation. It hypes you up. I sat there, I went for a jog after that fight at midnight because I was like, it's exciting to see that, you know, those guys put on that big of a show. You know, they lived up to the hype. And it made me want to outdo them. It made me know that, all right, last week they put on a great show, but they also had 2 title fights on that card that probably stole some of the shine. This week, it's all about me. This is main event Muhammad. I'm the last fight of this card, and I had to end with a big statement.
Curious, did you score it for Khamzat, or did you think Gilbert had done enough? How did you score that fight?
Yeah, I think it was very close. I think it just came down to the beginning of the 3rd round. Gilbert took his foot off the gas a little bit, and he laid it on the fence a little bit, and I could see why it would went to Khamzat, but honestly, like it wouldn't have been mad either way. I just thought it was a great fight for both, and it showed a lot from both guys. You know, people were just thinking that he was going to walk through Gilbert, and people are also thinking that now that Khamzat's not good enough. But I'm like, bro, Gilbert's number 2 in the world, and he was hitting Khamzat with a huge bomb. So Khamzat showed a lot of heart, showed a lot of chin in that fight. So you learn a lot more from a guy in a war like that than you would from him just killing everybody.
It would seem that the winner of your fight is sort of vying for the title shot against Khamzat and Colby if that fight does come to fruition. Do you think you can sort of knock out a big win here and sort of slip ahead of Khamzat, or do you think his hype train might push him past you? How are you looking at your path to the title?
I mean, when I look at the division, I'm looking at Colby like Colby's not fighting any tough fighters. He's fighting Masvidal off of 2 losses. He's fighting Woodley off of like 3 losses. So like I think that he's trying to pick and choose his way back to the title shot, calling out a 55er and Dustin Poirier. and then try to talk his way to another title shot. He hasn't beaten no top 5 real legitimate guys that are coming off wins. For me, I'm like, I want to fight the best guys. I want to stay active. I want to stay in there. We don't know when Kamaru's coming back, so maybe there's an interim title fight on the line in the summer, because that hand injury is a serious injury. So like, if Leon needs an interim title opponent, I'm there. We have history. We need that fight. Or like you said, if I have to go through Hamza, I'm not afraid to go through any of these guys. To me, I've already had to take the long road to get to where I am now. So now that I'm top 5, I'm expecting to go through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get to C.
It's funny you say about Colby kind of picking and choosing, because Gilbert said something similar, that he hasn't really fought any sort of contenders recently. Do you think that the pressure is kind of starting to build on him, and people are going to look at this Hamzat fight like, well, if you don't take this fight, then maybe everyone's right and you are picking and choosing? Do you think the pressure is starting to get onto Colby?
I mean, I think that it's going to get to him, but like, he's one of those guys that thinks that he's owed something, thinks that he's a pay-per-view star, and thinks that, I'm on the level of a Nate Diaz and a McGregor where I can pick and choose who I want. And I think that he's going to be one of those that sits out for a year or something like that, keep playing the injury game. Now that his tooth is chipped, he's probably going to be out for a couple years until they give him a real 55er to fight.
It's a bit of a cliche question, but your prediction for this weekend?
My prediction for this weekend is I get my hand raised, and it's going to be one of those fights where Dana White's going to have a fight to make after this fight. You know how he always says, no, we don't make fights after fights. He's going to be like, you know what? Bully B, you're fighting for the title next.
That's what it seems to be on a lot of those things. If there's an outstanding performance, it always seems like Dana pulls his card and just says, this is going to be the fight. Looking at that, if that Hamzat and that Colby fight does happen, and you make it through this weekend, are you going to be calling him out so that you could remove all doubt and say, give me him, I deserve that fight? Or would you sit back and let him maybe get his shot and lose a little hype as well?
No, I mean, I got to put a stamp on this weekend, and then it's calling out the next best guy. I'm a guy, like I said, this is my 5th fight in 14 months. I want to stay active. If there's a title fight in July, I want to be on that card. I want to stay in the fans' eyes. I want to stay in the cage. And I'm going to fight whoever is the next best guy in front of me.
I know your name had been tied with him for a while, willing to get in there. And a lot of people had been sort of saying he was almost like the boogeyman. Everybody was just going to get destroyed by this guy. When you watched that fight, did some of that hype or luster around his name drop away? Did he become maybe more human to people after you watched that performance?
I mean, he was always human to me. That's why I was always wanted that fight. I think he's still a great fighter. He's still undefeated. He's still super young. I think that people just put him as like this robot, this Marvel character that he's just gonna touch you and you fall. But he's like, we all bleed. We're all human beings. I think that they put him out so high that, all right, now that he didn't walk through number 2 in the world, that, well, he sucks. I'm like, bro, he's still a great fighter. He's still a great challenge. And he's a guy that I think that could definitely be everybody in the division, except for me.
If that fight would have went a couple more rounds, what do you think? How do you think that outcome would have been?
I mean, it would have been interesting. I think both guys it was a war. It was a freaking back and forth war. It would have just, my take on it was who was going to gas out first, who was going to have anything left in the tank. They both, in that 3rd round, I think they were both tired, but they were both fighting on big heart, and they both had big heart. So it would have been interesting to see what would have happened with 2 more rounds.
And if I'm not mistaken, you fought on Ramadan before, and here you are again doing it. What is it like to fight on that? Is that just how it just happens, workout timing wise? Because I know some fighters don't want to fight during that, but how does that affect you, and what's your thought process going in?
I mean, this can be my 3rd fight during it, and I tell myself I'm not doing it next year. I'm not doing it next year. But when then they call you and they say, main event Muhammad, you want to fight? And I'm going to be like, yes, let's go. And I don't really care about the date. And then when I see the date a couple days later, I'm like, crap. But, it's in the middle of the month, so I'm still going to have the 2 other weeks after it. Last camp I had to do it, and for the Maya fight, it was the whole month during it, and I was training the whole time, and it was killing me. But I think, like I said, this month it makes you stronger spiritually, stronger mentally, and stronger physically. So it prepares me more, and it just keeps me more settled and leveled out. So I don't have to think about anything else. It makes me, this month not only about fasting from food. It's fasting from doing bad things, fasting from any of the negatives you do. It makes you a better person, and it makes you more giving, makes you more loving. You're more time with your family, and it just gets my mind off of the fight a little bit.
So but in that sense, since you're uber focused on that, where you're more in your head, you're thinking about things, are you a little bit more focused in the fight? Are you a little more focused on the fight without the distraction because you're so spiritually locked in?
Yeah, I mean, it's more so you're supposed to be worried about the religion than anything. So it's like now I can get my mind off the fight. So I've had 8 weeks to think about this fight. Now it's like, all right, now it's concentrate on the religion and bettering yourself as a Muslim in general. So reading more Quran, listening to more Quran. It's like now I don't have to sit there and just watch tape, thinking, dreaming about Vicente, dreaming about what's going to happen in the cage. It's like, all right, other things to think about too.
Awesome. Best of luck.
Thank you, brother.